Have you ever experienced fear in your life? I'm sure you have because we all experience fear. Well, today we're going to be talking about our new international best-selling book, Embrace Courage, and we're going to be interviewing all the authors, not all the authors, but most of the authors in the book. Stick around because we've got a really fun show for you today. Hi, all. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about this book, especially because the title, Embrace Courage, for those who don't know, in 2015, I broke through one fear every single day for a year. And I got to tell you, when you do something like that, you get a little bit of courage. And so this has been an amazing project, having an opportunity to, read everybody's stories about how they embrace courage to do different things in their lives. And I am proud and honored to be able to present to you Kathy Dirksen. She's the curator of Embrace Courage. Let's show our books, Kathy, because this is a momentous occasion, and so excited about, this book. The cover is so beautiful. We worked really hard on getting this book and putting everything together. So Kathy, why don't you share with everybody, how did you come up with the title Embrace Courage? And then how did you go seek out those authors to share their stories?
Oh, so many questions. Well, for last year, so 2022, the word courage was my word for the year. And so I was doing my best to everything I set my mind on to really focus on making sure that courage was what I was stepping into. And the term embrace, I feel a lot of power in that word. And so putting them together with embrace courage, it really called to me. And I found as I mention that title to other people, that it immediately catches their attention as well. So that's been really exciting. And yeah, so this is the first book that I've actually curated myself. So created the title and the theme, put together with the cover, created the team of authors going into it. And for this book, it was actually a project as well for one of the programs I'm in. So I'm doing a leadership certification program through Feminine Power. And this book is my leadership project. And of course, part of that was bringing together different people and having to work in collaboration. So the team of authors that's in the book is actually a range of people, everywhere from people that I've known since I was a teenager to people that I just recently met, and they've, through various networking groups and social media, that they've connected with me or been introduced to me by other people. And also a group of the authors are part of my leadership certification program. They're my pod sisters, we call each other, the magical sisters. So you'll see a few of them on the show later as well. So it's really been kind of a collection of people that have been important in my life, and that embracing courage has been important to them. So Linda, thank you for making this happen. I'm not sure if she's still.
It automatically muted me. Okay. So stuff happens, right? So I'm glad that you decided to go with it. And I love the title, and the stories in here are absolutely incredible. We're going to be hearing some of those stories as we go on throughout the day. We have interviews set up for this morning as well as this evening. So if you can tune into both, that would be awesome. Now, Kathy mentioned something about, her word for the year last year was courage. And so I'm going to ask Kathy first. I'm going to ask you, but also the audience. If you're watching right now, drop in the chat, drop your word of the year if you have a word of the year. So what is your 2023 word, Kathy?
Impact.
Impact. Definitely. And making an impact, these books do that. This is one thing I love about sharing the stories. My word for 2022 was expansion, which actually, did really, really happen in my business, which was awesome. And, it did happen a little bit on my girth as well. We're not looking for expansion there, but
COVID.
so you know what I decided to do, Kathy, since that word really, it really worked for me. I decided to go ahead and just add a little bit to it. And that is massive expansion. Massive
All right.
expansion. Okay,
Let's
they're
do
saying
it.
Sally
But
says
not on
she
your
can't
girth.
see we can't see Linda's video. Interesting. So if you're watching right now and you can or can't see my video, and let me know in the chat. I just drop it in the chat. Let us know. I'm not sure if it's just Kathy or Sally, if it's anybody else as well. So Kathy, we're going to bring up our first two authors and international best-selling authors. We're shooting for number one right now. We're hanging at number two. So what we need you to do is go to actiontakerspublishing.com/courage. When you go there, you're going to see some flags. So we have the different countries that are being represented with the book. Click on the flag that sits with your country and buy the book. It's only 99 cents. So go ahead and do that. We're going to bring up our first two authors today. We have Tiara Turner and Helena Wall with us. Super. And Tiara has a guest with her as well, Grace. We're going to hear from Grace as well. So first of all, before we get started, congratulations on being an international best-selling author. How does that feel, Tiara? How does that feel?
It feels amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, so good, so good. We're going to start with Tiara. I'm going to start with your chapter titles because I want to know, like, how did you come up with these chapter titles? A lot of times when people are sharing their story or they're writing a book or writing an article or a blog or what have you, coming up with the titles is one of the most challenging things. So Tiara, your chapter title is Living with Grit and Grace. So why don't you, we got Grace sitting right next to you. So why don't you share with us, what does your chapter title mean, Living with Grit and Grace?
Sure. So the grace, it actually has nothing to do with my Titi Grace, but sort of. So living with grit and grace is just a motto that I've embodied over pretty much my entire adult life. And through challenges that the world sends over to you, you need to have grit. And coming from where I come from, which is why I have my Titi Grace and I have my mom here, I know that grit definitely personifies me as well as the character that I portray in the book, Luna. Grace came as I became an adult, to move with grace, to, have the courage of an entire army, but move like a lady, move very classy, move with grace, and how to, overcome challenges, and not fold and still move on with grace, with a positive attitude, with a growth mindset. That's how I came up with the title. But I'll be honest, I definitely agree with your sentiments. At the last hour, if you will, that I had to finalize my chapter, I was going back and forth with titles. I had about 7 different ones, and thank goodness Kathy was right there with me. And I settled on Living with Grit and Grace, and I love it. And it's gonna continue to follow me from now on.
I love that. And I remember when you did submit the chapter, you had I think 2 titles. It was like just settling on that final one. And then, when you did settle on that final one, are you like, now here we are, a couple months since you submitted your chapter. Are you satisfied with that title?
I'm more than satisfied with it. I love it. I feel like
Fantastic.
It's a great umbrella that I can continue to move on from. I feel like other projects that I'll have underway, that I currently have underway, also fit under that title. So, and I think it's really positive. And I hope that it's an inspiration to people, especially women who overcome challenges, who encounter certain things, that prayerfully they can, buckle up, live with grit, as well as, move on with grace.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just share with Kathy, because I haven't shared with her beforehand, is I'm going to throw you into the top left. And when you see that, that's where you are, Kathy. It's your turn to ask a question that we can like play volley here.
All right. Perfect. Just getting my everything moved over. So Helena, we'll ask you the same question then.
Absolutely.
Your title of your chapter and what it means to you.
Mm-hmm. The title is The Courage to Empower. And what it means for me is that throughout my life, having been born into a family of a religion that is very traditional, I'll put it that way, there's not a lot of power acknowledged for women and girls. And so throughout my life, there were times where I had the option because information came to me. And I have the sense, and I've had a sense for some time now as an adult, that it came to me to help me to have power for myself on some level. So it started from a fairly young age. I chose to continue in my education when I was being told, you're done. And so I took the courage to go because information came to me that said that it was my right. And if I wanted it, I could claim it. And there was a process. And so I took it. So there's other similar types of scenarios throughout my life where information came to me and I chose to act on it with courage.
Perfect.
Yeah, Helena, I do have a question related to that. You said you left, and how old were you when you decided to? How old were you when you decided to leave, and then how long did it take before you actually left?
Well, it's interesting because I went to my parents and said, I want an education, and I know a way that I can do that without leaving. And so I made the choice theirs again. And so my mother stepped forward and said, no, you're staying right here if you want to. So I was able to stay home for the duration of high school. And that's after high school is when I actually left. And at that point, I was already an adult.
Someone's brownies are done. I heard a ding dong.
Here.
Well, before we go on, thank you for sharing that, Helena, because so that's a story I want to dive into more, but we don't have time for that during this interview process here today. So we'll do that on a different show and stuff. But before we go on, I just wanted to share that Andreasen Holistic Healing Center shared their word is freedom, as well as Susanna, her word is freedom. Freedom is a great word that I see showing up a lot of times when we ask that question about your word. So Helena, do you have a word of the year? If so, what is your word of the year?
I love that question. My word for this year is express, as in express myself. Last year, my word was joy.
Awesome. Then did you get more joy in your life from last year's word?
It was a mixed bag, I'll put it that way.
Okay.
And my growth is always my greatest joy, and there was certainly growth.
Fantastic. I love that. I'm going to ask Tara and Grace, do you ladies, did you have a word for the year of last year? And if so, what was it? And did you achieve that, the results from it? And then do you have a word for this year?
Last year was healing. This year is action. So I'm putting all those things that I want to accomplish. People call it a list. I don't have a list. I just want to put my words into action.
I love it. What about you, Tiara?
My word, it's two, but it's growth mindset. It's the theory and principle of how I decided to move this year. It's the theory that my business will be predicated upon. So, and that's what that's what Luna talks about in her book. It's all about a growth mindset.
Awesome. I love that. I love all these words. I love hearing them all. I wish I could just choose them all, but I found that it's actually better if I just stick with one. Because that way I can concentrate on it. Really, I focus like every single day. For me, it's all about like there's whatever I'm doing today is leading to massive expansion, right? So I'm always focusing on that one thing. So I'm going to volley it back over to you, Kathy.
All right. Well, the next thing I wanted to ask the ladies was around their experience as an author. So is this the first book you've been in that's been published? And what's been your journey as an author?
Okay.
Who do you want to start with?
Lena.
You're going to start with me?
Okay, Linda. Helena.
There we go.
Both work fine. I have, excuse me, wanted to write for a very, very long time, and I have written journals and short stories, or what could be called anecdotal scenarios, that sort of thing, many times. But this is the first published work that I did. And by the time I decided to do it, I had about a month to write my chapter, and it took me about 2 days. And from there, it was simply editing. And I often just love what I've written first the best. So it's the same sort of advice to myself, like we got in school. The first answer is usually the right answer. So it's very exciting to be published. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, congratulations. You know, here you are. You've done it. You took the steps to make it happen. You took Grace's action, right? And you made it happen. And here you are, an international best-selling author. We're shooting for that #1. So if you're watching right now and you haven't yet bought the book on Kindle, it's only 99 cents. Please help us to hit that #1 by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/courage. And if you go there, you'll see the different flags of the countries. Click on the appropriate flag for your country and purchase the book. Help us hit that #1 international. We're so close. We're #2 right now. So we just need a little bump to hit that. So thank you so much. So, and then the question, Kathy, you want to send it back over to Tiara?
Yes. Is this your first published work? And what brought you in here?
Yes, so this is my first published work, and I'm super excited about it. My whole life I've been writing, but this is why I have my Titi Grace here. So this work is dedicated to her persistence. So she's been with me my whole entire life. You know, everyone has a story. There are different stories to say, but she always would say, Tiara, write your story. You have to tell your story. You have to tell your story. So this work is dedicated to your persistence and just encouraging me to put things on paper. The reason why I decided to write here right now is throughout the summer, I had another just interesting tragedy that I'll write about at a later time. But when I met Kathy through a different network, Kathy and I were talking, and we talked about maybe 4 or 5, stories at that particular time. And she said, Tiara, just kind of pick one. So I wrote one. I'm so excited. I'm so relieved. It is, it's fun, but it's also scary because it's you showing like a vulnerable side of you. So now you're really open to the public and people are going to follow my work, which I'm excited about. But it's also it's healing and it's very relieving, and I feel great about it. I feel excited about the lessons and the lessons I'll learn and the opportunities that'll come, from here. And I have other opportunities. I have different things in the works right now for bigger platforms, etc. So I'm really excited. This first work and this first publication is always going to be near and dear to my heart.
That's so good. I love that. I was like, this is a W, right? We got a big win over here. Your first time published authors, sharing our story, writing our story can be, like Tiara mentioned, can be cathartic. You're having this experience of putting that story on paper and then pushing it out there into the world. It does take that courage in order to make that happen. I know when I first had, the first book I was in, I didn't even share it with anybody because I was so scared that people would read my words. So I've overcome that, which is good. But, it's just an interesting process. But Grace, I want to hear from you. First of all, we do have one of our books coming up called Never Give Up, that persistence piece. Grace, we'd love to have you in that book for sure. But so think about it. But Grace, I want to know from you. Tara just shared that this book, this chapter is dedicated to you. How does that feel for you?
Wow. Persistence. Her character, I've known her as a child. She was awesome. Her dedication to her studies, education was like #1, but that she got from her parents who insisted that education was the way out. We lived in a neighborhood that was rough, for lack of a better word,
Humble.
but we were humbled by it all, because within the concrete that we lived in, within that concrete reservation that we lived in, we did not allow anything that would mess up our kids. Our terraces were where they played. We got a hose, excuse me, and if it was hot, they went to the pool on the terrace, because we didn't take them out, but they would go out of the city, because luckily our parents were able to go down south and visit. And so my girls were able to hitchhike with them. And so we were a really blended family. But again, education and character, watching her in her martial arts, watching this little girl become a black belt was inspiring to me. Watching her come home from school and I have to do my homework, Phoebe Grace, that was inspiring to me. She never complained, but she always, there was this, she talks about grace. There was this grace that she had as a child that I, as a woman, admired. And so as she grew and she went through all these obstacles, I saw her become, I used to tell her, you are the woman that I thought you would be. And she became that woman. She became an example to the other young ladies in the neighborhood. And she's a chip off her own mom. She's her mom.
And that's where the grit comes in. So I just want to bring my mom in just so she can come on. We can share also. But that's where the grit is. The grit, I really feel like how I was raised, where I'm from, the Bronx, New York, proud of it. It taught me a lot. That's the grit until about 20. And the grace comes after, from 20 to where I am now.
Hello, Mom. What do you got to say about your daughter? I mean, how amazing. First, before you say anything, I want to share, because there's a saying that we're a product of our environment. And what I love, what I'm hearing here is that there was a rough environment, but you created a better environment within the home. And so, first of all, congratulations on doing that and not allowing the environment to take over, right? To control. You created your own environment. So congratulations on that, Mom. So how proud are you of your girl today?
I'm very proud of her accomplishments, because she's always been like that since she has been a little girl. So she would, as a child, she would always conquer math, science, chemistry. And I was really, really proud. She always graduated as summa cum laude, valedictorian. She was always dedicated to her book. So when she did that, it made it easier for me to raise her.
Oh, that is so good. And congratulations on being that great role model for her, because it does start in the home. It does start in the home. So that's fantastic. And so I'm going to throw it over to Kathy to, I'm going to have a coughing fit for me. So I'll be right back.
Well, I guess one of my questions, since this is the first time you have both jumped into a project like this, are you planning to continue your journey as an author? Is there a theme that you'd like to write about going forward that you haven't had yet?
I definitely plan to write more. I have not thought a large amount of time on the theme exactly. The word empower is a very important word to me, and has been with me for a long time. So that is likely going to be at least a part of it. And I love to lift others up. So I'm leaning towards something that is in the self-help or inspiration, something that people are drawn to when they're at a certain point in their journey of life. And here I am to shine a light on something that will hopefully support their journey, give them hope, upliftment, empower them.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that theme. How about you, Tiara? What's the next theme you want to write on?
I think the mic is muted. Okay, cool. So thank you for that question. And I really appreciate the platform. Kathy, I definitely want to continue a work or two, a next piece with you for sure. I I know that Luna has a lot to say, who's my spirit animal, the alpha wolf. The platforms that I'm looking at now are working with organizations to talk about a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. So I do have some conversations with organizations that can help just get that out there, and they could be on public speaking platforms or organizations at conferences. But just how I was raised as a child, where I'm from, if we grant the youth opportunities to think a little bit differently, if we give them exposure to different opportunities with a solid foundation, I believe that a growth mindset is you're not born with it. You can kind of grow into it. So future opportunities will be talking about a growth mindset on a bigger platform, on a bigger stage with organizations in front of minds that can be influenced. So I'm excited about that.
Well, that does sound very inspiring. And I know both of you mentioned how you hadn't anticipated the feelings that would come up writing your chapter for the first time and kind of where it took you in that journey. And I must say, I found the same thing when I did my first book, and now I'm up to almost a dozen books. So it almost becomes an addiction when you get going. And Elena, could you describe how that kind of felt for you too? I know that there was a lot of family things and stuff that came up for you as you went through that journey of putting your story on paper.
For me, it was an opportunity to finally share my perspective and to share also how anybody who finds themselves in a situation that isn't to their liking, isn't idyllic for growth, there are opportunities. And if we're paying attention when they come, because they could easily pass us by, easily.
Yes.
But if there is a passion inside, it'll drive you and it'll come back. And so I think that it was an opportunity to say my piece. And now that I've said it, I'm ready for the next thing. So.
Perfect. How about you, Tiara? What were your feelings as you picked your story and put it on paper?
I was very nervous, very nervous because this is the first time that I'm allowing the world into me as an author, a first-time author, and sharing a personality, Luna, a character that I really only share with a close-knit group of friends of mine. I have a lot of amazing, amazing friends, and I'm so blessed to have family and friends. But this is the first time, like when I pressed send and I sent it to Kathy, it was like, it was gut wrenching. It's different when it's in your own work. It's different when it's your own body. It's different when it's like you and your name and lights. My whole life I've worked for other people. You know, it's a little bit different. But when you press send and you're releasing your own and you're being vulnerable to anything that comes, good, bad, or indifferent, it's gut wrenching. But I feel relieved and I'm excited for the journey because I know I feel like I have a positive message. I feel like I have a message of generational support, growth mindset, and wealth. And I'm ready.
Perfect. And you both probably know that the book I'm just finishing up right now is called Midlife Awakening. So that's one that's still got some space. And the next one that I'm putting together is around imposter syndrome. So that's one that I'm just putting the details together on as well. And of course, going forward, there'll be more. So your suggestions on themes are always welcome. And I think Linda wanted to jump back in again with a question.
Yes, the final question, and it's going to be to all of you ladies. So, Mom and Grace, please, you're included in this as well. So, the question to you is going forward, like, what is one suggestion you would have for anybody who's watching right now about embracing courage? Because you've had different situations. All of us have had different situations in our lives where it's taken us to muster up the courage to do the thing, right? And so even the task of submitting our chapter, that can be a scary situation for people. And so I'm just curious. So I'm going to start with Helena, and I want you to share with us, like, what's one thing that you can share with the audience to help them to embrace their courage, something that they're not doing right now. Maybe there's something that just today they're like, oh, I want to do that, but I'm scared. Maybe there's something that they've been thinking about for years that they want to do, but there's some kind of fear that's holding them back. So how can they embrace that courage to go forward? So Helena?
What I do sometimes for myself when that fear is especially strong is to go into my imagination and imagine what's the worst that I can imagine that can happen here. And when I can imagine that, and I can be okay with that possibility, everything else is just so much better than that eventuality. And I also will then focus my attention on a more positive, the ultimate outcome that's possible here. So that's what I would suggest is, what's the worst? Can you accept that? Can you live with that? Could you survive it? If you can survive it, everything is better from there. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that, Helena. Thank you for sharing that perspective. We all have different things that work for us. So try that. See how that works for you. If it doesn't work, try something else. Just keep trying. You have to find the thing that does work for you. So Tiara, I'm going to start with you. Oh, where'd Mom go? Bring her back. Okay. So Tiara, Tiara. Okay, we're going to start with you, Tiara, and then Grace, and then Mom. So what is that piece of advice you would give people who are sitting there right now? Maybe they're having some fear over something. How do you help them to embrace courage? Like, what's your recommendation for them, Tiara?
Sure. My recommendations, just short to the point, would be put it down on paper first. If you're nervous about it, put it down on paper, get it out of your head, and just put it down first on paper. That's the first thing I did. And the second thing I did was allow a trusted friend or an advisor first, if you're really apprehensive, to read it and give you feedback, and slowly kind of open yourself up to it. And that worked for me. I had pages written down. I said it to one person, two people. I massaged and tweaked it, and then here I am. And now I'm literally a published author in a book. So that's so awesome.
International best-selling published author. Thank you very much. You gotta make sure to add that. Thank you. That's great advice. I love it. What about you, Grace? What would be your recommendation for people who are on that fence of fear?
Would be to trust that the journey that you've gone through or that you're going through, if you do expose it, it might show certain parts of you that you don't want out, but it will help somebody. And pretty much, if you could help someone along the way, that's what it's all about.
Oh, I love it. So good. Yeah, helping others, definitely. And what about you, Mom? What would be your recommendation?
I think patience, because if you take your time, maybe you're not ready to do something right away. So if you have patience, it will come to you, when it should come. God will make sure that there is a platform for you to start reaching out.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. And that's actually the theme of one of our books coming up as well. We got lots of books between Kathy and us. We have a whole bunch of books coming up. I wanted to share before we let the ladies go, and is that, we have right now a BOGO offer going on at Action Takers Publishing. So you buy one chapter, you get one chapter free. Plus, if you join us before February 14th, we're throwing in an additional bonus book. So this is like a killer deal. Just go to actiontakerspublishing.com/BOGO, BOGO, actiontakerspublishing.com/BOGO. And I want to congratulate you all for being international best-selling authors. We're shooting for that #1. We are so close. You guys just get on the horn and tell your people, buy the book, buy the book. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Make it happen. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to bring up our next guest, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing what you all do, and becoming like, it does get addicting. And one of our, the vice president of author development at Action Takers Publishing, Sally Green, she always says, being in a collaboration book is like a potato chip. You can't eat just one. So, so with that said, I'm going to send you all down to the green room there. Thank you for being here, and really appreciate everything you do, and just keep putting your messages out there. You're making a greater impact on the planet. Thank you so much. See y'all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Linda.
Whew. Oh my gosh, Kathy, that was great. Oh, I just love what they're doing, the messages that they have to share. And I'm glad Tiara was able to bring on some, additional folks onto the show to, bring them up, have an opportunity to talk to them as well. These are people who shaped her life. Right. They were there with her during the entire journey, and they've gotten to see her to just blossom into this super growth person that she is. Absolutely incredible. And Helena, just the work that she's doing, to help people to get their message out there, and really sharing that, just because we grow up in one area doesn't mean we have to stay there. And that was the message, like one of the messages that I got from both of them. So what was your favorite part? I put you on the spot there, Kathy.
I think one of my favorite parts is with new authors. So people that have never shared their story, have never been part of a book, and you hear that common theme around. They didn't realize how almost therapeutic it would be to put their story on paper and release it to the world. So not just put it on paper and hold it in front of them, but to actually send it out there for everyone else to read as well. And that's one of my favorite parts of doing these books, is just the excitement and that new life that comes out of being in a book. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that I totally agree with that. And it's interesting because, since I broke through a fear every day for a year, I have so many different things I learned during that year. But one of the greatest things I learned is the first time we do something can be scary. Yes, it can be. But then we did it, right? We did it. Then the second time we do that same thing, just like the time you got behind a wheel of a car and you're like, oh my God, 10 and 2, I got to turn my head and I got to make sure I don't turn the steering wheel. All these different things that we had to be extremely aware of, hyper aware of, so we didn't cause an accident. But nowadays, like I see people driving and putting on makeup, while they're driving, or I've actually seen men shaving, like they have those electric shavers and shaving while they're driving. Why? Because this has become part of their comfort zone, because it's something they do on a regular basis. So if we think about sharing our story, that first time, yes, it can be scary. But then the next time it gets easier and easier. Like I'm an 18 times #1 international best-selling author. And that is because I just love the process now. But the very beginning, I wouldn't even share it with anybody because I didn't want anybody to read my words. So it's really interesting how this happens. So if you're on the fence, you're thinking, I'm not sure about, putting my story out there, please just reach out to Kathy or me and let's make it happen, because your story is meant to be told. It's meant to be heard. There's somebody out there waiting to hear your story. So I wanted to share that we have, Sally's word is miracle. I know she's the vice president of Action Takers Publishing. She wasn't able to be on live with us today, but she is listening. So thank you so much for that. And then Jody Lynn, thank you so much for attending. We got your little heart smiley face there. And then here's something Sally shared. I have found that the more you share your story, the more you heal. So good. Yeah. When we share our story, a lot of times some, things can come up, emotions can come up from past experiences. And when that happens, we can experience like tears. This happens all the time with our authors, that they're like, I don't know, I'm just crying and I can't get anything down on paper. Well, you know what? Let the tears flow. Let those tears flow, because that is a part of the healing process. So with that said, I'm going to just send off to a really quick 30-second commercial. We'll be right back with our next guest, Susanna Magic. She'll be right on up. Okay, Kathy, we're back for more. And I would love for you to introduce our next guest, which is Susanna Trousdale Magic. And first question I have for her is I'll keep for after you're done. So go ahead and introduce Susanna.
Hello, Susanna.
Hi, Kathy.
Welcome. Susanna is coming in from the UK.
Yeah.
So she's come a long way to be on the show with us. Susanna and I are together in the Feminine Power programs. And so we've gotten to know each other really well that way. And yeah, I'm excited to have her share her story or parts of her story in this book and more to come.
So Susanna, welcome. I got to dive in. How'd you get the name Magic?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I have spent a lot of my life working with children with special needs or who are deemed to need extra help. And in one of the schools I worked in, I set up a special needs unit. And the educational psychologist came along one day and came into my room and said, "We just call you Mrs. Magic because you've no idea what you do with these children, but they all change and grow." So that's where I got the name Mrs. Magic from. And I rather like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that, because I was wondering how you got that name. And Sunshine's not my given name either. It's a name that was given to me, kind of the same style as yours. Like, let's just adopt those names, right? So your chapter is titled "Have the Courage to Be Magical." And first of all, I love how you have like all your images back there. I know you have the wings. You have a picture in the book is you wearing wings, and those wings are magical as well. But how did you come up with this title? Have the courage to be magical.
Having the courage to be magical, because I'd written a poem about things I experience in life and who I think I've become as Mrs. Magic, and it's called Magically Me. So I just took the having the courage from the title, having the courage to be magical, because sometimes the experience I have, which is spiritual experience, is you do need to have a bit of courage to go with them. They're slightly out of the ordinary experiences for a lot of people, but they happen a lot to me, and it's learning to go with it. So that's where the title came from. I mean,
awesome. Yeah. And, I would love if you would indulge us with reading your poem.
Oh, I have it here.
Okay, cool. You just happen to have it. Yay.
I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do that. But I do just happen to have it here.
Yay. Bring it on.
Synchronistic. That's magical. That's the magical touch, So my poem is called Magically Me. I am Mrs. Magic. I'm a mother, grandmother, friend, homemaker, mentor, empath, teacher, healer, and soul guide. I have magical empathy, spiritual gifts, psychic powers. I can tap into another's essence, celebrate, welcome, nurture, and guide them on their soul journey here on Earth and in other realms. I can soar through the universe, visiting stars and planets, gathering wisdom and bringing understanding. I channel light to others and to the earth, promoting personal and planetary healing. I have visions of times gone by, access to ancient wisdoms, karmic patterns, and Akashic records. I set light grids across the planet, connecting sacred sites, opening portals of healing, creating a golden web around the world. I work with goddess energies, moonlight, crystals, color, helping the divine feminine return to the earth. I love and embrace being me. I honor my gifts and wish to share them with many, many people all over the world and throughout the universe to bring peace, love, harmony, fellowship, and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm glad you had an opportunity to put that into the book. We do love our authors to be able to share their creative geniuses. We all have different, and there's some of the ladies that are in our books, they do love to share their poems as well. So thank you so much for bringing that to us. And I'm going to send it back over to Kathy.
Yes. And Susanna, tell us a bit about your journey as an author now. I mean, I know this is the first time that you've been in a book, but I also know you've got a lot of other bigger plans, and we've got another one coming up, and you've got your own big vision as well. Tell us more about that.
Well, I have started a book some years ago, which I was given the title of in a meditation, called Beyond the Labels. And it's stories about the children I've worked with. And it's labeled children. They might be labeled autistic or disruptive or all sorts of different labels, dyspraxic, Asperger's. And I've changed that label into the spiritual gift that the child has. And I've given each child an angel's name, and I've written a poem about working with each one of them. But I've shelved that for the moment because when I had another vision given to me of the book that I'm working on at the moment and that you've helped me with, Kathy, called Magical Moments of a Mystic. So every now and again, I just get given a poem. It's kind of downloaded about an experience that I've had, either setting grids or during a healing process or in a vision or in a dream. And that book's The Magical Moments of a Mystic, or subtitled Living a Multidimensional Life, because that's really how I see that I live. But yes, this one here is the first story I've had published. I've had a poem published before, and I've written a lot of poetry, but I've never published any of it. So this is giving me the courage, maybe. I mean, your encouragement for, first of all, Kathy, for saying, I think you've lived a life of courage doing the things you do, has made me think, well, yes, I can be more overt with it and more visible. And that might help more people to understand these labeled children and people like me who are empaths and sensitives.
Okay, and we've got your story also coming up in my next book, The Midlife Awakening. So that's exciting to wait for that one. And, that's one of the things I love about these books is, like you said, you've had this other book that you've been working on for a long time. It's been kind of on the back burner. But being in a collaborative book where you now see that yes, I can be part of a book, and yes, becoming a published author is doable. And now you've got that confidence to say, hey, I can do this again. Hey, I can do this in a bigger way. And that's what really excites me about bringing new authors into these projects and just seeing how suddenly all those different opportunities become just a real plan.
Well, I certainly agree with that. It's just, it was just a lovely opportunity to trust that what I had to say was going to be, first of all, welcomed by you and put in a book. And then to see it in print, it's very daunting. Because a lot of the work I've done in life, because it's a spiritual work and spiritual experience, a lot of it is done fairly covertly. It's not like in everybody's everyday parlance, or, everyday realm that I work. So putting it in a book just to bring it out is really a helpful thing, and to having a small peep at it first, and have had some very positive feedback about it, how interesting it is, how magical it is, has already been a really encouraging thing for me to carry on and produce what I want to produce. And I thank you, Kathy, for being part of this journey, in listening to me, first of all, in the pod, sharing a lot of my poems and stories, and inviting me to be part of this book.
Well, I'm very glad you did jump in. And yeah, so I guess it's been almost a year that we've known each other now. Yeah. And it's been amazing watching how you've been able to step into owning the work that you do, and recognizing that there's a lot of people in the world that are looking for you.
Thank you.
That want what you're doing and bringing to us. So
yeah, I'm sitting now in my magical sanctuary. So it's full of crystals and colors and pictures, and this is where I work.
I love that space.
Okay, I got to stop this love fest here for a second. Okay, I got to stop this love fest because I'm gonna make a special announcement.
Yay!
We did it, number one.
Yay.
in Australia. Australia pulled through. You know, the rankings weren't showing in Australia until just now. And just now they showed up, and there we are, number one in 3 different categories in Australia. You are now a number 1 international best-selling author. And we'll make the announcement. Sally, if you're watching, please go ahead and make the announcement in the private chat there so everybody knows. And then we're going to update. We have images for you to use with your new badges. You're showing that you're a number 1 international best-selling author. How does that feel, Susanna? You're the first one to hear it. And Kathy and you. So.
Happy too. Yeah, it's nice to share it.
And the funny thing is, the Australians are sound asleep, so they don't even know they've.
I brought Helena back because she has been hanging out there in the green room. So Helena, congratulations. How does this feel?
It feels amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh my gosh. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit excited because I get very excited about all this stuff, you know, everybody sharing their stories and then, you know, making this trek down this journey to, you know, we're always shooting for number 1 international, of course. If it doesn't hit that, it's okay because it's all about the stories. And what this means is the number 1 international, what it really means, I'm going to share with you, is that means more people are buying the book, which means more people are reading the stories, which means more people are getting an impact from your story. That's what the number 1 international is really about, is that impact. Because the more books we put out there, the more impact that we make. It creates that ripple effect. And just such an exciting time. I was like in the back and I'm like, oh my God, look at it. There it is. I had to come in and interrupt the love fest you 2 ladies were having.
Well, you bring up a really good point too, though, that this book is an international community. So as I mentioned, Susanna's coming in from the UK. Helena and I are in Canada. We're on opposite sides, east and west of Canada. Linda, you're down in San Diego. And yes, we've got authors in Australia, Germany. Whew, we've got a whole crew of them here.
Yes. And one of the chapters is actually written in English and Dutch. German? Is it German an actual language? I don't know.
Yeah, so she wrote it in German and then had it translated. And yes, and so we decided, hey, let's put both versions in the book.
Yeah, so exciting. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm done being on that cloud, but I'll be on there all day long.
Well done. Well done.
Yes, congratulations. So I wanted to, Helena, thank you so much for coming back up. She's like, oh, here I come. She had no idea. I just popped her up on the screen. So surprise. Congratulations. So I'm going to go ahead and send you back down, Helena. Okay. So Susanna, when you decided to be part of this particular book, and I know now you're going to do more works, put them out there, publish more works, getting your story out there. And, we have, every day we can create a new story about something that we've experienced in our lives. There's hundreds of them out there. So as you look on your life, what would you say is like the underlying, what would be like the underlying current of the theme of your life that you would love to share with people?
I think the underlying current for me is how very sensitive I was as a child and have always been. And it's turning that sensitivity into a gift rather than the negative that it was seen as in those days. Sensitive people, empaths, I mean, there's many of them opening up now and many of them returning to the planet as well. But as a child, it was seen as a very negative thing. You were too sensitive, you were Dolly Daydream, you weren't really with us. But I was living in this multidimensional world. And to turn that around and make it into a gift where I can help other children and other adults and do healing for people and set grids across the planet is just magical.
What I love about that is that, because I've always been a very sensitive person, highly sensitive. I never knew that had anything to do with empathy, but the Hallmark commercials, we would be sitting and watching a show on TV, and then a Hallmark commercial would come in. And the very first thing my daughter was like 8. The very first thing she would do is she would look back at me to see if I was crying, because she knew that I was very sensitive and I would cry at the drop of a hat. And it's really interesting because it's not a weakness. And so I would love for you to speak on that, about sensitivity and how it is not a weakness. And what's your thoughts on how we should share our sensitivities?
Well, I think sensitivity shows in many ways. I mean, I think I'd probably now have been given the label autistic as a child because I just wasn't really engaging in primary school, particularly with very much that was going on. But I knew inside me that I was very clever and wise, but I didn't have words. I didn't have people talking about what I was experiencing. So yes, it's if we can get this stuff out there about sensitivity, being a gift, you can feel things, you can respond to things, you can be emotional about things. It shows you're in tune with what's really happening in life. Like when you're talking about crying, one of the poems I've written for my new book is I spent a whole day crying when someone cut a tree down at the bottom of my garden in the next garden. I didn't really know why until I went out and saw this tree, and it was like me being cut down. It's that you're tuned into that kind of sensitivity, and it makes life quite a challenge until you realize. And I didn't actually realize this till I was about 40, and that was the chapter I wrote for Kathy's next book, Midlife Breakthrough, I think it's called.
Awakening.
And it was and I was very much awoken by going to see a healer who held my hands, and she said, "You're what we call a sensitive. You must have been in pain and tired all your life." And I just burst into tears because no one had ever believed me. They just thought I was making it up, or I wasn't trying hard enough, or I wasn't like other people, and there was something wrong with me. So, Linda, the sensitivity, turn it around, use it as a gift, and know how to protect your own energy was the first thing I was taught. And I think that's, we need sensitives in the world. We need people to say, don't cut that tree down. And the wind is green today. Can't you see it? That kind of sensitivity is needed in the world.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that piece is a lot of times we're stifled at a young age, right? You're too sensitive. You got to be quiet. Like, why is that bothering you, or whatever? There's so many different things people say that they don't realize what they're doing is they're stifling us. They're putting us to a place where we're feeling like we're being stifled, I should say, because that's up to us to feel stifled or not. And so really that piece of sensitivity, I think it's important for us to just tap in and be you. Be you, boo. Be you, boo. Right?
Right. Magically me.
Exactly. So, Kathy, you want to ask a final question of Susanna before we bring up our next guest?
Susanna and I could just chat all day long. And I know she'll be jumping into the next book, and she's got more books coming up. And I guess one of the things that we didn't ask at the beginning, what her word of the year is.
My word of the year, it came up under a different name, actually. It's freedom.
Right.
And it's the freedom to actually be who I am, not anyone else's perception of whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or a writer. You personally, and live being you wherever you go.
Oh, perfect. That is a good definition. That's what I find with the word freedom too. A lot of people use it, but of course we've all got our own definition of what does that mean? What is the freedom that we're looking for? And what will really get us connected with that next piece of our journey? And Linda, did you have a last question as well?
Yeah, definitely. So, Susanna, first of all, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on being a #1 international best-selling author. Today we're talking about the book Embrace Courage. We're still looking to sell more books, and that's because we want to get the stories out there. Absolutely incredible stories. But Susanna, what is like one piece of advice you would have for anybody who's sitting on the fence, whether it's to share their story or to do something else? They have some kind of fear that's stopping them from moving forward right now. What kind of advice would you give them to get that push to do that thing that is scaring them so that they can embrace courage to live the life that they truly want to live?
Well, I think it's follow your own intuition. Don't listen to anyone else. And find what's really happened for me in this last few years is find people who do want to listen to me and will support me. To be overt about who you am. So it's finding your own tribe of people who can listen, hear, and embrace who you are, and help you have the courage to come out to do whatever you want to do. And you have that inside you. So it's journeying towards that. Our journey never stops. We're evolving all the time. So it's having the courage to take the next steps, having the courage to not be, what did you say? Was it squashed or stifled? Yeah, allowing yourself to be.
Yes, it's so true, so true. I love that because one of the things I do talk about is, having faith in myself, having faith in others, my support system, and having faith, I believe in God. So having faith in God, and that will help us to break through any of those fears that we have when we tap into those, those areas. And so really having a positive support system is extremely important in our lives. So if you're finding that you're surrounded by people that anytime you mention something you want to do, and they're like, well, why would you want to do that? Or they're, kind of like browbeating you, find those people in your lives that are going to help you, that they want to see you succeed and get out there and make the impact that you're here to make. So Susanna, thank you so much for being here. Truly appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and send you back down into the green room. And again, congratulations on being a #1 international
Thank you both for having me and encouraging me.
Bless you. Bless you. Oh, Kathy, so good again, right? I mean, just amazing. I love how, somebody called, said she was magic and she adopted that, because that's what happened with me with Sunshine is I went ahead and just, adopted the name that other people were calling me. Now, I didn't see myself as Sunshine at the time at all, but I have grown, like it's grown on me. And now I see that, yes, I am Sunshine. I do show up in a certain kind of light. And so really just like thinking about there are people in our lives that really see something in us that we don't see in ourselves. And when we start to adopt their beliefs in us, the positive people, not the negative people. I have my fair share of adopting all the negativities in my life. But when we adopt those positivities about ourselves is when we really start to have that growth mindset, as Tiara was talking about earlier. So today we're talking about the book, Embrace Courage. This is a fantastic, fantastic book where, the women and men in this book are from all over the world. They're sharing their stories about how they embraced courage in order to step into who they are, to share their story, their magic of what has happened in their lives. And so, Kathy, before we bring on our next guest, I want to ask you a question, because you, first of all, you're the curator of this book, but also you have a chapter in the book. It's called Embrace the Courage to Shine. So why don't you share with us, like, what does that chapter mean? How'd you come up with that? And what's the special meaning behind your chapter?
Well, a big part of it, I focused a lot on, I guess we've probably all heard the poem or the quote around what is your biggest fear, and that our biggest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our biggest fear is that we're powerful beyond belief. I don't have the exact words in my head right now. And I just really wanted to emphasize that, because I think so many of us, we do stay small and we do stay stuck. Whereas something in us keeps telling us, okay, step up, step up, step up. There's something bigger you're supposed to be doing. And that was a big part of my vision with this book, is to share those stories of people being courageous, to then inspire others to be more courageous in their own life. And so that stepping into that, embrace the courage to shine. So to me, when we really find what excites us and what our calling is, we do shine. We feel like we are shining. And so that's where that came from. And I'm so excited about where how the book is unfolded and all the amazing stories in it, and how so many authors are feeling so excited and that they're now stepping into that next book and that next project that they didn't see themselves doing before. But now it just seems, okay, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Exactly. I love that. And she was referring to, it's actually the very first poem in her chapter, Kathy's chapter. And I'm just going to share the poem. The message. It's from Marianne Williamson. It's an excerpt from A Return to Love. And that is, our deepest fear is that not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And it's by the mirror effect, where when we do something and people see us step out into that, they're like, oh, she did it. She was successful in doing that. Maybe she was scared doing it, but she did it. I can do it too. So really thinking about that along that lines. And then the other part of this where it says, it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Now, something for me is I lived in darkness for 51 years of my life, the very first 51 years of my life. And how I know that I was living in darkness all those years, because I didn't know I was in the darkness until I was in the light. And it was like, whoa, that shined a light on that. Wow, look at the darkness I came from. And I was able to move beyond that. And so really, stepping into that courage and having that courage to shine. And, yes, it can be scary at sometimes when the light is shined on you. But guess what? You're stepping into. You are stepping into who you truly are and who you were meant to be while you're on this planet. So step into it. And with that fear, step into it because you're scared, which is my message. So anyway, I wanted to bring on our next guest, which is Trent Simmons. He is the founder of the nonprofit that we are supporting in this book. The nonprofit is called Spirit of the Game. Welcome, Trent. It's good to see you here today. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you so much. And I want to ask, I'm going to start with Kathy by asking Kathy, how did you select this nonprofit? They're receiving a percentage of the proceeds of the sales from the book, of all the sales from the book. So buy the book and you're going to help Spirit of the Game. But Kathy, how did you select this nonprofit, Spirit of the Game?
Well, with the books, that's one of the things that I really love about this kind of project, is that we can share some of the success that comes with the book. And I like to look for nonprofit groups that hit an international, diverse group of people. And that's one thing that you'll learn from Trent, as we kind of get him telling us a bit more about what they're doing, is that they are an extremely international, very deeply established group that really supports and encourages people on many, many, many different levels, whether it's women going into business, whether it's other people creating their dreams. And I'm going to let him jump in and describe a lot more of the different parts of their work that they do and how they impact the world, because that was really what I was looking for, was a group that really hit a global audience, because this is a global book. Like I was saying earlier in our chats, that we have people in the book from Canada, the US, Australia, UK, Germany. We've just really hit a wide group of people. So really to, stay with that international theme. So I'll let Trent tell us a bit more about what they do, who they serve, how people can get involved.
It's always a little bit challenging to know where to start because we do have so many different teams working in so many different areas. But we'll start at the end. What our overall goal is as an organization, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the different paths we're taking to reach that goal. Overall, our main goal as an organization is to help to build a massive global social community that is all united around a new definition of winning. That for most of recent human history, the main definition of winning has been how much money can you make? And we've seen the impact that's had on the world around us. We've seen the massive inequalities that are created through that, particularly once you have systems in place that allow the rich to control the government and stack the playing field, so that, sure, you can work hard, but if you don't have anything to start with, your odds of success are quite limited. So our new definition of winning is simply how many people can you help? Because it doesn't matter where you start. If that is your goal, there's lots of different ways to be successful. Obviously, starting with a lot of money is one good way to do that, but the field is not nearly as stacked against people if that is your definition of winning. And as you'll see when you look at the examples of people that have already adopted this definition of success, the planet benefits, society benefits, inequality is reduced. And yeah, so that's the sum of our organization. If you only have an elevator pitch, but yeah, there's a lot of also root causes of societal dysfunction that we are addressing along the way, because the reality is there's certain systems that have to be fixed before major societal problems can go away. And if nobody is working on addressing those root causes, we're always going to have to keep coming back and basically putting band-aids on our wounds. So I don't know, Kathy, do you want to jump? You want me to keep going about the specific pillars of our organization, or?
Sure, yeah. And that's one of the things too that I wanted to kind of circle back around to, like you were saying, kind of changing that definition of success and looking at it more from a collaboration point of view, more of a win-win-win-win-win. Like it doesn't, this old model of win-lose and who's on top and who am I beating, that model, like you say, it just needs to be completely reworked. We need to make a new model that makes the old model obsolete. And I love that whole looking at things in that way. So it's not about putting band-aids on. It's not about, well, let's shift this part and hope that part adjusts too. It's about really looking at things in a different, bigger, collaborative way. So I love that. So yeah, if you can tell us, some of the different pillars that you have in place, that'd be great, and kind of what they focus on and who you're helping. And of course, always letting us know how people can get involved and what other ways can people support you.
Definitely. Well, the first way you can get involved is just go to our website. There's a big button on the upper right-hand corner of every page, volunteer. We're always looking for more volunteers. We are currently a 100% volunteer organization that in 2022, we started with about 100 global volunteers, and within 6 months, we were over 1,000. So we have all of the structures in place, global leadership team, continental, regional, and now in about 40 different countries, national leaders. So that's the first step if anybody wants to get involved and just find out more. It's a very straightforward form that just says what areas are you interested in, how much time do you have, and what type of role would you be interested in. From there, somebody will contact you about one of our Q&A calls. Now we're having our Q&A calls every day at 5 p.m. GMT time. So it's always an opportunity to just come in, meet one of our senior leaders, and just ask whatever questions you need to get answered to see where you can fit in. And that's one of the great things about all the different areas that we work in, which we'll cover a little bit later, is there's something for everybody. If you're super passionate about women's empowerment, the Impactful Women's Network is right there. And there's so many different layers on how you can work on that. Whether you're mostly interested in organizing a local community group of women who can come together to figure out, help each other figure out how each one can be most impactful, or if you want to go and take it into a corporate setting of going in and running the leadership development programs or the gender empowerment programs within a corporate setting. That's that. If your interest is really the global network and getting connected with people from all over the world, all of those elements are there as well. If, on the other hand, you're more interested in youth leadership, we have a full suite of services for university students, and we're also developing those for high school students. And later this year, we will be coming out with both the Impactful Students Network and the Impactful Teachers Network. But you had asked me about the different pillars, so let me just go ahead and rewind a little bit and kind of put this into the framework of just how we're organized, how we're structured, how we kind of keep everything together. 4 different pillars of the organization. We already talked about the social movement pillar. So these are community groups and university groups that come together, have discussion events, discussion groups, and eventually form clubs that can go out and engage in direct activities. Our second pillar is the impactful networks. As I mentioned, we launched late last year the Impactful Women's Network. We're about to launch the Impactful Business Network. We have the Teachers and Students Networks coming up later this year. And just yesterday, we entered into our first conversations about the Impactful Real Estate Network. So that's really what we want you to think about when you hear the word impactful network. Number one is there's two different definitions of the word impactful. One is that you are having an impact. And the second is that you are full of impact, that you have maximized your impact. That second one, that's a journey. That's a lifetime to really reach that pinnacle. And you need a lot of support along the way. An individual, they can just make a decision in their brain to reprioritize and start having some type of impact. If they really want to get to that peak, that one that's making the news, that changing communities, changing people's lives, and inspiring, that's the most important part, inspiring others. Because an individual who does that, that's great. But if they don't inspire anybody else to do that, that's a wasted opportunity. So that's really what the impactful networks are all about. It's going out there and figuring out different segments of society where we can bring together members of that segment so they can help each other figure it out. So you don't have to explain all the basics of your role or whatever the case may be before you can get started. The people already know the background and a lot of that, the backstory, so they can immediately give their input on your personal social impact platform. Because that's something that's fairly unique about our organization. We believe that every single person on this planet has the potential to have an impact.
I agree. And it's interesting that that word is so important to you as well. That's my word of the year is impact. And it's so true that there's so many things that we can do, but what's really having an impact? What's really moving the needle and changing the life of people around us and our communities? And I think that's a really critical focus to have is, am I having an impact? And where is it going? And how can I expand it? And like you say, inspire other people to then have impact with what they're doing in their life. And I think that's really extremely exciting. And I think that is what's going to shift the world. That is, that there's a lot of us are feeling that the world right now has shifted on the negative side, but I think what's going to shift it back to a positive is more people getting involved and looking at impact and how can they make an impact. And yeah, so thank you very much for the work that you're doing and bringing the world together like that. And how many different countries would you say you've got involved now?
We have teams in about 40 countries and individual leaders or ambassadors in probably about another 60 right now. So I'd say probably by the end of this year, we should have that number up to about 100 where we have teams, and we should have ambassadors in most of the rest of the countries of the world. And again, a lot of it is just because we really spent the last 3 years building up a global framework that makes it very easy for us to replicate our work. And one of the core elements of our work is that we've deliberately developed our systems so that people can volunteer as little as 2 to 3 hours a week and actually make a difference. And that's pretty rare. Usually if that's what you're talking about going and working at a soup kitchen or cleaning up a trailhead like once a month, that type of thing. It's very difficult. And again, we know, because it took us 3 years to figure it out, it's very difficult for an organization to create the proper structures so that volunteers can actually make a difference in such a small period of time.
Just figuring out the time zones and everything is probably one of the bigger challenges. And we forgot to get you to mention where you are right now.
I live in Zurich, Switzerland. I am from the United States. My wife is Swiss. We met 7 years ago, and this is where we're based for now. But in terms of our team, We have regional chairpersons in 17 out of 19 regions of the world. So the only place we're lacking is the Caribbean and Oceania. So if anybody happens to be from any of those areas and you'd like to bring Spirit of the Game to your region, definitely let us know. But there's plenty of opportunities even in the more established regions of the world. And you were asking earlier about bringing different elements together. So that's one of our third pillar is the Impact Coaching and Consulting Coalition that can be summed up in 4 different categories. Number 1, we help impact entrepreneurs to scale up their businesses. There's a lot of people, they've already figured out the impact side, but they don't necessarily know how to tell their story. They don't know how to build the partnerships that will let them scale up. Second thing is we're showing regular entrepreneurs how they can make the transition to become an impact entrepreneur. And if you ask a startup, what is your company's social impact platform? Typically, they're going to say, we don't know. We don't even know if we're going to be successful. Once we start making money, then we'll start having an impact. And the thing is, up until recently, that made sense. But we've entered an age of conscious consumerism, that people now care about the social impact of the companies they're buying their products from. We have conscious employeeism, that people, they don't want to work for a company that hasn't figured that part out. So if you haven't figured out your social impact platform yet, you're going to be up against it when it comes to attracting top talent, the people who are super passionate. And again, you can still attract the top talent of the people who don't give a bleep about anybody but themselves. So if that's the kind of person you want to attract into your company, by all means, forget about your social impact platform. You'll have no trouble attracting the ones who just want to come and get rich. But those are the same people. They're going to jump ship as soon as a better opportunity comes along. So if you want dedicated long-term team members who are going to stick around and who also are going to engage their intellectual capacity to help you figure out how your company can have a positive impact, you better get started on that role as soon as possible. The third thing we're doing,
something kind of important there too. Sorry for jumping in, but the idea that the entrepreneur quite often focuses on their work and just, I'll do that later. But I find that if you don't have that kind of bigger vision and purpose that you're feeding into, that a lot of entrepreneurs tend to kind of lose their momentum and lose their excitement about what they're doing, because they almost lose touch with why they're doing it. Again, most of us do go into our own business with that dream of having an impact and contributing to the bigger world. But when you just get busy doing your thing, you really lose touch with that. So it's great that you're creating that platform to give people that way of connecting into that bigger picture. So sorry, carry on with what you were saying.
I'm just going to share one of my favorite quotes, that without conscious evolution, life is a rat race where even after you win, you're still a rat.
All right, Pitt's perfect.
So the third element, and this will be a major focus both for the Impactful Women's Network and Spirit of the Game as a whole for the month of March, is our corporate offerings. That now there are corporations that are waking up and becoming conscious and trying to figure out how they also can have an impact. And sure, you can always just donate some money to a nonprofit, but there's usually so much more that you can do. And impact entrepreneurs can benefit enormously from the patronage of an impactful corporation. That's one of those ways you can change not just the individual entrepreneur's life, but the entire industry. So that's a lot of what we're doing, is we're actually putting together programs that show corporations how they can more efficiently support impact entrepreneurs and support the efficient nonprofits. Haven't got to that area. That's how I'll wrap it up. But the fourth area is then, as I mentioned, the Impactful Student and Teachers Network, of showing universities and high schools how they can better educate their students about impactful career choices. It's a very, very much neglected area that, again, if you look at it, most of education, but the teaching from my parents, go to school, study hard, get good grades so you can get into a good university so that then you can get a good paying job. Nowhere along that line was there anything mentioned about having a positive impact on society. It's no knock on my parents. They're good people. Mom was a nurse. Dad was a millwright. They both helped in their own way. It just wasn't a conversation we had around the dinner table. When I went to school, it just wasn't something that the teachers were prepared to deal with. And now there are a lot of teachers all over the world and professors trying to figure this out, but there's not a lot of thought leadership on this. There's not a lot of actually coming together and say, how can I use my biology class to teach students about impact? But guess what? There are ways that you can do that. There's no subject that can't be used to plant that seed and to show the students how they can have an impact. Because there's a lot of careers that you start out like this person goes a little bit that way, focused on impact, just because they had that one conversation. And by the time you know it, one person's way over there off track, again, usually working for a company that's not helping anybody or is even actively doing bad. And there's other person, they stayed on course and they're actually helping their company to have that impact and be successful. So that's the Impact Coaching and Consulting Coalition. That's our third pillar. And as you see, we're covering a lot of ground here. This is the reason why we have to put this framework into place. But there's a ton of overlap between each of our pillars. Because our fourth, sorry, did you want to jump in there, Kathy?
I was just going to ask about the working with the youth. Is that, I guess, a part that's just becoming developed now, and that's previous to that student and teacher component, that the youth, most of your work has been with the adult population, not so much focus on the youth till now?
Yeah, I mean, we've had the kind of the basic workshops in place, but we just didn't have the time to really develop the online.
A lot going on, yes.
Yeah. So that'll be how the rollout takes place. Is hopefully by the beginning of summer, we're going to have our first set of online courses available. And our goal is simply to have 4 or 5 courses on impact entrepreneurship and other types of impactful career choices available both for students and for teachers. And we're going to offer that platform for free to any school or school district in the world. That will be backed up by an online social media community where, again, it's not just you go and you take a course and then maybe you try to find some people that you can talk to about it to keep it going. It's all going to be wrapped together. And again, it's going to have that element, the very global element that you're going on there and you're having a chance to interact with people from all over the world. So you can start breaking down barriers that way.
Oh, that sounds perfect. And we're really looking forward to having you involved in the book. And I think the community that we're connecting with through the book will be an excellent addition to your community. So that is really exciting. I'm glad we bumped into each other and made this connection. That's definitely one of my big visions, is to reach globally and to build that connection among groups and figure out how we can work together in this positive direction. And I think Linda is back somewhere. I wanted to jump in as well.
Yeah. Are you able to see me, Kathy? Because you said somewhere. So are you not able to see me?
Nope. You're still a little black screen.
Oh, okay. So I'll just make my final question here. So Trent, first of all, thank you. Trent, are you able to see me?
Yeah, nope. All I see is the stars in the background.
Interesting. Okay, so I can make faces and you guys won't even know.
No, you can stick your little hands up. And
Oh, I'm going to do that just because you said that. So Trent, first of all, thank you so much for embarking on this global scale. I mean, to do something that's global takes a lot of thought, a lot of process, coordination and all of that stuff. Thank you so much for doing that and, making it happen, moving that route. And so I'm just curious if you can share with us, the audience, if you were to share with them one thought on embracing courage, keep it under 30 seconds, embracing courage. Like, how do you embrace courage to move forward, especially with something like on what you're doing on that huge scale?
Well, I'm pretty weird in that way because for 5 years I engaged on a daily comfort zone exercise that I would not go to sleep unless I had done something that day that got me outside of my comfort zone. And it was even to the point where 3 or 4 occasions I was in bed, head on the pillow, eyes shut, and 1 second before I drifted off, like, oh shoot, I haven't done anything. And I would drag myself out of bed, walk down the street if I had to, and find a situation that got me out of my comfort zone. Sometimes I took the maybe easy route out of just calling a loved one or an old friend or something just to reconnect or tell them I love them, those types of things. But after 5 years of that, my comfort zone was just so big that, but the lesson there is whenever there's something that you're afraid of, there's a voice in your head that's going to tell you, don't do that. Listen for that voice. Don't listen to that voice. Get to know when that voice is telling you something. Sometimes it's telling you really clear and it's good advice, but most of the time that's just the voice of fear. And as soon as you are able to consciously identify, oh, that's my fear voice that is telling me not to do that, then you say, yeah, I don't want to listen to you anymore, fear voice. You've just given me the energy and the ammunition I need to go out and move forward and go do that thing that you're telling me not to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Trent. Yeah, I talk about enlarging the size of our comfort zone on a very regular basis. Fear is a great topic that I love talking about. Thank you for being here. Your nonprofit, spiritofthegame.org. If you want to make a donation to the nonprofit, go to spiritofthegame.org. And also knowing that 25% of the proceeds of the sales of this book, Embrace Courage, are going to spiritofthegame.org. Trent, thank you so much for being here. Truly appreciate you. Keep doing that work and making a huge impact on the planet. Really appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and send you down to the green room, and thanks for being here. And so Kathy, you cannot see me, correct?
No, you've been a black screen the whole time.
Okay. That's something that would have been good to know because I've been doing all these facial reactions and nobody's had a chance to see them. I'm just kidding. So what I'm going to do.
You mentioned that someone had said that.
Yeah, I didn't know it was still going on. So that's okay. That's okay. What I'm going to do, Kathy, I'm going to have you run the show as I'm going to jump out and then I'm going to come back in. But before we do that, I'm going to take us to a short commercial break and we will be right back. We're talking about the book, Embrace Courage. I keep putting the book in front of my face and nobody can even see that I'm doing that.
No,
that is so hilarious. I love it. I love it. There we go. Kathy's got it in front of her face though. Okay. We'll be right back. Okay, how about now? Do you see an avatar? Like, do you see something?
All I see is your name bar. The rest is a black screen.
Okay, cool.
Even your name bar disappears sometimes if you're not speaking.
Okay, I'm going to try to go out and come back in. But before we do that, I just want to share, we're talking about the book, Embrace Courage, Finding Strength in the Face of Adversity. This book has hit #1 international. Woo, woo! I just love it, love it, love it. I'm not sure if Yared and Kathy have heard that yet, but they're our next guests that we're going to be bringing up. One that I wanted to share with you before I'm going to head out and I'm going to try to come back in and see if anything changes. But if you're ready to become a best-selling author, now is your time. As you're hearing the stories that are being told here today, you're hearing that, yes, it was scary to put their chapters out there, but they did it. They did it. They did it. Because when we put our message out there, our stories out there, this is when we make the greatest impact on the planet. Action Takers Publishing is having a BOGO offer right now. Buy one chapter, get one chapter free. Plus, if you buy before February 14th, we're going to give you a bonus chapter in one of our other books. So head on over to actiontakerspublishing.com/BOGO. Get 2 chapters for the price of one. And if you get it before February 14th, you will get that special bonus. So we're going to bring up our next, we have Kathy Sheeler and Yared Afewerk. And I'm not sure if I said his name right, but I'm going to bring them up onto the stage. Kathy Dirksen, Kathy. We have Kathy Dirksen, Kathy Sheeler. I'm going to bring them up and I'm going to disappear, which I've already been disappeared the whole time, I guess. So I'm going to re-disappear and then come back in and you'll let me know if I'm on the screen. So Kathy Dirksen, take it away.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome, Kathy and Yared. Good to have you here.
Good morning.
Good morning. And so you just heard the news that we did hit international #1.
Wow.
So apparently Australia was our first country that we hit #1. So I guess they're already in bed. Their day is over. So they've been working on it longer than us.
Yeah, they've been busy. Yes.
Exactly. So a couple of things that we've been doing in our little interviews here is asking people a few different questions about their journey with the book. And just to let people know, Kathy, I'll let you go first. Let us know where you're at in the world, since we do have an international crew here. And was this your first book? And how was that experience for you?
Yes. Well, hi. Thank you for having me on the show. This is such an honor. Oh, there's Linda.
Oh, there's Linda. We see you now.
We can see you.
You can see me? Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Kathy, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, I'm Kathy Sheeler, and I live in San Diego, California, along with Linda. And let's see. This is my first book. I am with Kathy in a leadership group. And she told me what she does. And I thought, that's what a great idea to write a chapter. And so with her encouragement, I wrote a chapter and I found it really easy. Kathy was very encouraging and supportive and helped me with any suggestions, with any issues I had. So it was really a fun, fast way to get myself into a book. I never thought I would do this, but I'm very honored to be in it and to share my story. That's so important.
Perfect. How about you, Yared? Tell us where you're at and how your journey has been as an author.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. First of all, I'd like to thank both of you, Linda and Kathy, for giving us or me this opportunity to write my chapter. And how we started, I knew Kathy long time back, before even this book coming to my mind, but I have a lot of idea to write my story and give to the community to learn something, because it was tough journey, born in Africa and come and live in 3 or 4 continents, and finally come and work for 15 years in one big company and thrown away just like that. So it was in my cerebrum for a long time, and now I succeed, and I have to teach others also to get hope, not to hopeless for the situation what comes. So Kathy just put on the Facebook, and I see that and contact her, and the journey starts like that. It shows how we all are connected. That's the very important thing, and that's how we started the journey. And actually, again, for Kathy Dirksen, starting from A to Z, I never write any book before. Or for your information, I never write anything except my thesis in university. But the way how she approached me and encouraged me, and I don't know, sometimes maybe I'll derail, and she returned back me to railing to do something, focus on that particular thing, kind of thing. So finally, I'm here, and I'm really happy on this journey. Thank you, Katja, again.
You're very welcome, Yared. And one thing too to know about both Kathy and Yared, is that they are building a new vision of where they can take their work. So Kathy is focusing a lot on joy and spreading joy and helping people to bring joy into their life. And Yared has had a few different careers in building and construction and various things. He builds beautiful homes right now, but his heart is sending him in the direction of inspiring people to take on a more positive life and to lean in that direction of personal growth. So that's been one of the big excitements of this book, is really learning the story of so many different people, and where, some people are doing one job, but that job doesn't necessarily reflect what their heart is telling them to do next. So this has been exciting. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah, we're really, really honored and blessed to have both of you in this book. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question about your chapter. So Kathy, the title of your chapter is Taking a Leap of Faith, which is really awesome because Yara's chapter is Embracing Courage with Faith. So you both have that faith word in there, but taking a leap of faith, finding the courage to listen to my intuition. So a question I have about that, first of all, is that chapter title. How did you come up with that? But really this intuition piece, I'm curious about this because I believe that we all have intuition, but we don't know how to tap into it sometimes, or, some people learn at an earlier age. I myself didn't even learn how to tap into my intuition or to trust that it was my intuition that was speaking to me. I just didn't have that trust factor, until much later in life, in my 50s. So I'm curious, Kathy, if you can share with us, how you came up with that title and what does intuition mean to you and how did you learn to listen to it? 3 questions in one. You got all that?
I'll try. So really, I really started tapping into my intuition in my 20s. I didn't even know what it was, and we didn't really talk about that too much in the 80s. But I just felt this feeling inside my stomach that I should do certain things. And if I followed it, it was successful. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then I would test it, should I turn right or left when I'm driving? And I'd get a feeling, go right. So I'd go right. And so, but the big test came when I wanted to change universities. I was kind of struggling with my friends. They were I wanted to study and be a good student and be academic and learn. And I was surrounded by a lot of people who are more interested in socializing and partying. And I just, that was not me. And so I had this feeling I should move schools and go somewhere, and I wanted to go somewhere back east. So I decided to go to New York City. I just had a feeling I should go there, but I was scared to death to do it. And it was, but I had that feeling in the pit of my stomach that I should go. So I struggled with that, my fear and this feeling that I should do it. And so I finally decided to take the leap of faith and just embrace courage and do it. And it was scary. I was scared for a while, a couple months, just walking the streets was scary for me. But I was in a college environment, but it's right in New York City. But it was just, and I just happened to meet the right people and my classes were wonderful. And all of a sudden I started realizing that this was where I was supposed to be, that somehow my intuition was telling me to go there. And so that was the big thing, taking a leap and listening to my intuition, just finding the courage to do that. Another time, I'll tell you this story. So I was in New York City right out of college, and it was, we were in a recession. It was really hard to find work, and I was desperate. I wanted a job so badly. And so I went on an interview, and I felt like they wanted to hire me, but I felt in my pit of my stomach, I should not take this job. But I was desperate. I'm like, I got to work. I got to pay my rent. I got to buy food. So I took it, and it was not good. They didn't train me. I was left with all these mountains of work, and I was kind of struggling. And I ended up leaving the job after 3 months and finding a new job. But if I would have listened to my intuition, I wouldn't have had to go through all that. Maybe there was another job coming up the next week, but I was too scared. So one thing I've really found is when you're scared, try to turn that into curiosity and say, well, I wonder what would happen if I did this. Don't let fear rule you, because if you do, then you won't grow and you won't learn and you keep yourself small. So that's why I wanted to share my story, is to encourage people really to embrace courage and just try it.
Linda, you're muted.
Thank you so much for sharing that. With the fear piece is, fear can debilitate us and stop us from living our lives. And for me, it did for 51 years of my life. It controlled. Fear was why I did things. It was because of my fear that I did or didn't do things. And so I love this piece of the trusting the intuition. We recent book that we just launched is Trusting Intuition, Taking Action and Transforming Worlds. So it's really creating that piece of, how do we trust our intuition? How do we know that it's going to be right? Well, you just trust it, and it will be. It will be. So thank you so much for sharing that, Kathy. Now, Yared, your chapter title is Embracing Courage with Faith. So kind of along the same lines as Kathy. It's kind of funny that you two have been paired up, for this interview segment here. And so why don't you share with us, why that chapter title and what does that mean to you?
Good question. Thank you very much. Actually, let me start from the phase part, then I come to the courage part. So the phase part, everybody, all human beings have phase. Either they trust or believe in God or nature or the universe, whatever they said, or believe by themselves. So the phase is there, whether we like it or not. But what we put that phase is a one determining our life. So that's one part. Courage, everybody have courage, but fear kill our courage. So that's why the title is coming. First of all, I feel that I'm courageous, and also I feel that I'm faithful. So embracing courage with faith together, then the result is really success. That's the point. So when we come to the phase part, we all are connected, as I mentioned. Because of that, Kathy Derrickson put something, and I see that, and we made this beautiful book. So we have to encourage each other also to do something. Everybody can do some very good thing if we encourage each other. As we are connected each other, we have to encourage each other, kind of thing. So the title is coming because of what I passed through, and also the phase on myself and the phase on God, who is the creator of the universe. So I combine them together, and I feel that it's a good title, and me and Kathy decide on this title. That's why.
Yeah, what I find fascinating about that is that's one of the things I talk about actually is having faith in yourself, having faith in your surroundings, people who are positive and uplifting, who believe in you, and then having faith in God, because I do believe in God. And so having the faith in those three areas, and I think it's really important for us to tap into that faith of ourselves. And if we don't have it right now, adopt the faith of others, like the faith like others believe in us. Adopt their beliefs in us so that we can move forward. And I think that's really an important piece, for us to be able to live the life we want. We're only here for however many days. We don't know. We don't know when that is. So what are we doing? Letting that fear to stop us from moving forward. So I'm going to send it on over to Kathy for the next set of questions.
Oh, well, I guess the next question I could ask was, what will be your next step as an author? Let the audience know if you've got your next plan of being involved in a collaborative book or a solo book, or what your big vision is.
Who do you want to start with, Kathy?
You jump
Kathy?
in.
Okay.
Hi. Well, I'm not planning to be in a book yet. I just am very happy to be in this one. But my main theme is to help people find more joy in life. I feel like after the pandemic and with all the unrest in the world and all the things that are happening with the war in Ukraine, that you can feel really hopeless and depressed. And so what I'd like to do is help people be more positive with life, and do some more self-care, take care of themselves better. So there's simple things we can do each day to make us feel better, to be more positive. And it can be as simple as getting outside and taking a walk. It can be connecting with a friend over coffee. It can be meditating. It can be doing yoga, anything that's taking time for yourself, getting off the computer and the screens and just practicing self-care, really. Because if you take care of yourself, then you can start taking care of other people. The other component that I like to add into the program is gratitude. Every day, think of 3 things that you are grateful for. When you have gratefulness, then you start looking at the world in a more positive light. So that's mainly my program, is do something that's joyful for yourself, whether it's just having a cup of tea and relaxing and just contemplating on life, just taking some time out, and then having gratitude each day really helps shift your mindset. And that's kind of my mission right now.
Perfect. And that reminds me too, we should let the audience know that in the book, there's a bio at the end of each chapter. And in that bio is different ways to connect with the authors and learn more about the work they're doing or the message they're sharing or just where to find them in general. So thank you, Kathy.
And I put that on my website. So if you're interested, you can just see it. It's called the Joy Laboratory, and it's up. There's a tab up there that you can just see what I did and what I suggest for you. It's simple. Anybody can do it.
Perfect. How about you, Yared? What's your next book vision? Let's just give them a teaser.
Yes, as you know, I'm having a plan to write another book. That book is going to be a little bit different. I have seen a big gap, as Kathy said. We all are living to have joy. The bottom line is that one. Nobody would like to live a joyless life. Okay, but how we'll get that joy is the path is the one is different. What I see, the reaction of the chapter book, which I give to my friends, encourage me to do more. And the second point, which encouraged me to do more books, I have seen a big gap because as you see me, I have accent. As you see me, I'm born in Africa and live in Canada and running different companies and bringing an opportunity for a lot of Canadians work in my own organization, and that makes me joy always. And I'm helping the family or families actually. So what I would like to say, last time I drive with my friend from here to Edmonton by car to convince him or to ask him a question. How do you feel about Africa? And he told me a lot of terrible things about Africa, how he feel or how he imagine. And that makes me to think about, all right, I have to make a bridge between that continent and the North America, because people don't know about Africa. They don't have any clue what resource Africa have. And I said, all right, I have to write something about that to bridge between unknown facts of Africa to the North American citizen kind of thing. So why that thing happened to me? Because of he asked me a lot of questions, which is I don't expect him to ask me, but he's my best friend. And do you have home there? Kind of. I told him we have towers. Okay. Do you have this? And I said it's luxurious life also there. Maybe sometimes more than here what we are living. Anyway, so to make long story short, that gap makes me to inspire to write more books. Actually, not only one book. So the journey will continue, Kathy.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the next one, and yeah, we've been chatting for a little while about the different components we can put into it, and one of the ideas that I'm really excited about too, that one of Yared's ideas is to actually publish the book in his home language as well. And so that we're looking at different ways of doing that. So it could be published in a couple like English as well as his mother tongue. So that's exciting too. One of the questions that we've been asking everyone that's been coming on is if they've got a word for the year. Do you have a word that you kind of choose to focus on? Kathy, what's your word this year?
Well, it's interesting. Last year, my word was joy, and then the Joy Lab got developed. Now, this year, it's flow, actually, which means just to kind of be in the flow of life, listen to the intuition, not get too stressed out about anything, just kind of take it as it comes. So that's my word for this year.
Perfect. Yard, have you chosen a word? Do you do that sort of thing?
I choose just now. I didn't think about this, but I think my cerebrum is working. So vibe is my word for this year.
Vibe. Perfect. And what does that word mean to you?
We all have energy. We all have frequency. All right. When I see it the first time in 30 seconds, okay, I can connect with that person or not. I will decide. My brain is just working like that. Everybody's brain is like that. So if we have a positive vibe, a positive energy, positive frequency, then we can give another energy for the other person. So vibe is my word for this year.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. That's perfect. And I guess one of the questions too is always fun to bring in is if you had a message that you wanted to make sure that the readers got from your chapter, what would kind of that sum it all up message that you're putting out there? Kathy, what was the general message with yours?
I would say when you feel fear, turn it into curiosity and just try it out. Just whatever you want to try and do, just do it and see what happens. You won't know unless you try. So it's worth trying. And if it doesn't work out, then you just go back to, square one and you start again. But life is too short, and just embrace life and try things out and chase your dreams. I would say that. Yeah.
Perfect. How about you, Yared? What's the bottom line message that you want the reader to get?
I will the same like what Kathy said. Okay, we all are living to enjoy life, and I give 4 points to my audiences. The first one is, working hard is good, but it's not getting where you need. So I need everybody to do their best. For instance, most of the people are entrepreneurs, and I need them to start their own kind of work and be their own boss. Most challenge will be in painful in transition. So understand that and work hard to reduce the pain, and apply tenacity and keep moving. And the last one is going to be zero expectation, and believe in God and by yourself. And if somebody encouraging you, that's good, appreciate it. If nobody encourage you, do not worry. Go ahead, and God will help you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Linda, did you want to jump in?
Yes, I do, because not only is Embrace Courage a #1 best-selling book, but it is in Canada and Australia. So we're shooting for the US. We're #2 in the US, shooting for that one, as well as I can't remember the other country. The UK. So we're also shooting for the #1 in those countries as well. So congratulations, you all. You did it. You did it. You did it. But it doesn't stop here. It does not stop here, right? This is really where it starts. This is where we have that opportunity to share the stories, to make the greater impact on the planet. Your story is doing that. And Yard's working on his own book right now, which is really exciting. He'll be working with us on that. And I want to thank Kathy for introducing us to all these incredible authors. So Kathy curated this book. Now I'm going to put it in front of my face, and you guys will actually be able to see it, because before I wasn't showing on the screen. But Embrace Courage, this book right here is absolutely incredible. The stories in here talking about, situations that they've had in their lives, that moved them into this place here. Kathy curated the book. She brought everybody together. And what I wanted to share about that is, if you have a book inside of you that you want to do, but maybe you just want to bring people together to be in that book, please reach out to us at actiontakerspublishing.com, because this is what we do. We help people to put their books out there into the world. And so with that said, I'd like to ask final question of both Kathy Shelar and Yared. So Kathy, what is one message that you would like the audience to hear from you right now that is going to help them to embrace that courage, to move into that space of doing something different than they've ever done before, because maybe fear is stopping them from doing that? So what is one piece of advice you would give to them?
I would say just face the fear, face it, know that it's going to be hard. You may fail, but it's worth it in the end, just to turn that fear into curiosity. Yeah. Try it out. I wonder what will happen if I try that out.
It's a great question. I wonder what will happen if I try that out and just turn that fear into curiosity. I love that. What about you, Yared?
Good. Just to speak with strangers in a positive way, always. And because you don't know that person what is passing through, and encourage him and what he's doing and all this stuff. If with a stranger, just to speak positively. Just that's my word.
That's so good. I love that because one of the sayings that I like to say is you never know who you won't meet if you don't
Yeah.
step outside of your comfort zone. And that's all about having conversations with people you don't know. And is it scary? It can be. It was super scary for me for many years. Now, I've moved into that place where that's just part of my comfort zone now. So it's kind of interesting how when we break through those fears, we start to establish a sort of confidence about ourselves, that we show up in a different way. We show up as who we're really here meant to be. We're not meant to, like you were mentioning earlier, Kathy, about, shining the light on, is that we're not meant to be in the darkness. We're meant to be out in the light. We're meant to share our message. We are meant to be here to be a conduit for other people, to help them to see that, yes, I can do this too. I got this. And you know what? I can live the life that I want to live. We live in that place of darkness, or that place of fear. We're not really stepping up and being who we're meant to be. So I want to thank you both so much for coming here. You're sharing your story.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the big win. This is a big W for being a #1 international best-selling author. So excited to be on this journey with you. And I'm going to go ahead and send you down into the green room and look forward to, just getting to know you better. And, Kathy and I actually have been places together because we are both local to each other in San Diego. So it's been awesome, getting to know the other authors in the book as well. So you guys have an amazing day, and bask in the glory of being a #1 international best-selling author. And remember, update your bio to include #1 international best-selling author. When you introduce yourself, I am a #1 international best-selling author. Add that to your accolades, because you have succeeded in that and achieved that mission. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. See you soon.
Thank you, Linda. Thank
Oh, Kathy, this has been a great morning. Congratulations. Another book that's hit that #1 international. So exciting, right? What's your thought on the whole process of this, bringing these people together to share their stories? Kathy, I'd love to hear your perspective of it. I have my own because I do the same thing, right? But I'd love to hear your perspective of that.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. And the thing I love about it most is just hearing the excitement that it brings for all the authors as they move into this. I mean, for myself now, I love being in collaborative books. I find that the community that you meet and build is amazing. And it's one of the only things that I've ever done where I literally have people coming to me going, "Oh, thank you so much. I love this. This is so great." Like just the joy, like the real deep excitement and joy that comes from developing your story and sharing your story and putting it out there. So it's pretty much all I'm doing these days is coming up with new ideas that people want to write about, bringing it together and passing it over to you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love this. I met Kathy, I don't know, probably about 3 years ago now, maybe even a little bit before that. But, it's just been this process of, this relationship's been cultivating, right? And sometimes I think in life, we want things to happen right now. Well, I know I do. Like, I want it to happen right now. I want it right now. Like, Daddy, I want an Oompa Loompa. If you guys know the reference there to the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I think was the name of that one. But like, I want it now. But sometimes, it has to curate. It has to cultivate like this relationship that is built in time. And it's been an incredible journey with you, Kathy, just seeing, what you're doing. And then also with us, with me, like the growth that I've had throughout the years that I've known you, and just coming together. It's like, this is something that both of us love. And I have the same exact experience, is that when people share their stories, then they're like, "Thank you so much for encouraging me. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for asking me to be part of this. Like, I didn't know my story had any value. Thank you for letting me see that it does," right? All these different things. And that's what, I love that aspect of it too, because it really gives us this opportunity to shine in our area and to help other people to see where they shine in their areas in life as well. So I'm glad, that we are doing this together, this partnership that has been created, and there's many, 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 many more books to come. And I do just want to share the last thing is that, we at Action Takers Publishing, we do have a BOGO offer going on right now. BOGO offer, you buy one chapter, you get one chapter for free. And if you purchase before February 14th, then you get an additional bonus chapter in another book. So really take advantage of us in this opportunity to share your story with the world to make a greater impact on the planet. So Kathy, before we go, I want you to, share with everybody, who you are. I'm like, I didn't even do the introduction of who you are, and we know what you do because you've been mentioning that, but who you are, like how you got into this work and how can people connect with you?
Perfect. Yeah, no, I am Kathy Dirksen. My company is called Inspired Tenacity. And the big vision of that focus is on helping people to rediscover their brilliance and create a life they're actually excited about living. I find so many of us have gotten stuck just doing life and not really enjoying it or excited about it. And, we've got so much wisdom to share and experience to use. So, and that's where the creating the books really came in, is that I've realized that the more we share our stories and share our inspirations, the more we inspire other people to do the same. And I guess that's my piece of impact, that I bring it together and support other people in creating their dreams by doing this. So the easiest way to connect with me is my website is just inspiredtenacity.com. And also you'll find me, LinkedIn is my most common social media. I'm also on Facebook. I dabble a bit in some of the others, but I might not see anything for a while.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. I'm like, oh, I need to go over to LinkedIn. I need to see what's going on over there. And so, yeah, just connect with her, inspiredtenacity.com. Check her out. She's got a lot of great stuff going on, and also if you're ready to share your story, this is a great opportunity. Kathy has books going on. We have books going on. Just opportunity for you to get your message out there into the world so you can make a greater impact on the planet. It's when we come together in these collaborations, and it's way more, really, it really is way more than just sharing your story or being in a book or being a #1 international best-selling author, because the community that is created within each book, it's like its own little ecosystem.
Yes.
And then in Action Takers Publishing, it goes beyond that. So we've published, I don't even know the number right now, I think it's like 12 books so far. All 12 of those books have different authors in them, and then you're able to connect with those authors from all the other books as well. So there's this huge ecosystem that we're creating within this. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what our future holds, Kathy, because none of us knows, but we do know it's going to be great. Whatever it is, we know it's going to be great working with each other. And lastly, I'd like to share that 25% of the net sales from the proceeds of the sales of this book, Embrace Courage, are going to the nonprofit Spirit of the Game. So check them out at spiritofthegame.org for more information. If you'd like to make a donation, go there and make a donation, because we are making a donation from the sales of the books. But it's not a whole lot of money, because the sales of the books are, I don't know, that's just the way it works. Amazon likes to keep the majority of the money. That's just that's why they're one of the largest companies in the world. Sorry, Amazon. I just had to call you out on that. Okay. With that said, Kathy, what's your final word for the listeners, the viewers here today? What's your final word for them?
Well, my word of the year is impact. So let's go have some real impact on the world. And my final message is to remember that my books coming up right now are Midlife Awakening and Imposter Syndrome. So if you've got an interest in sharing your story on those, let me know, and more to come. Exciting day. Thank you, Linda.
Awesome. I love that. My word for the year is massive expansion. I'm just hyphenating it, massive expansion. And we also have several books coming up. We have one called Never Give Up. We have the Fearless Female Founders coming up. We have Let's Raise the Tide. We have a lot of books coming up, but check it out. Again, take advantage. You'll see some of the titles on our website there. Go to actiontakerspublishing.com/BOGO if you want to get the special deal, and just go to actiontakerspublishing.com and check it out and see what we have. We also use something that we have there. I just wanted to share with you at actiontakerspublishing.com is we do have a free download of like how to become an Amazon bestseller. We have become a #1 international every single time on every single book so far, and we don't expect that to change, but we teach you in that download how to become an Amazon bestseller. So go to actiontakerspublishing.com and you'll see it there, and just download that and get your game on. Get your game on. With that said, we're going to end for the day. Congratulations, Kathy, for another #1
in the
international.
morning. We'll see people later in the afternoon.
Yep. Congratulations on another #1 international best-selling book, Kathy. So proud of you of everything that you're doing. And this is going to be a great journey with each other. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you soon. This is Linda Sunshine West, founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing. Looking forward to helping you to get your story into the world so you can make a greater impact on the planet. Bye-bye now.